from the MCPLive.tv studios, located in downtown Conroe. It's the Conroe Art League, live.
Hello, and welcome to Cal Live, the show that tells you what you need to know about the Conroe Art League. We are here to introduce you to each of our Cal artists and tell you a little bit more about them so you'll know their story behind the beautiful art that they make. My name is Marilyn Lowry, and I'm honored to be here today as your host. And today we have as our guest Cal artist Cindy Rae Fancher. We're so happy to have you here today, Cindy.
Thank you, Marilyn. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's gonna be fun. So, okay, Cindy Rae, I understand that you didn't start out right away with art. Maybe in your mind you did a little bit, but you had some other things that you did first. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your background, a little bit about where you grew up and your family, and what brought you here and what brought you into the world of art?
Okay. Well, I could go back and tell you the whole long story, but I would put it shortly. I was born in New Mexico, but my father traveled a lot doing consultant work for the military. He was in electronics and stuff. When I was 10, we ended up in the Houston area. And so I've been here somewhere around Houston ever since then. I've lived in I grew up primarily in Pasadena and and then lived in Deer Park as an adult. And finally, in 2005, moved to Magnolia and then the Conroe area and everything, which is how I became familiar with Cal and started visiting and then became a member
That's
of
awesome.
Cal.
That's awesome. You came up to the trees.
I did.
Yes, you
I
did.
wanted the trees.
I know.
I didn't think, for me personally, I didn't find it as satisfying as I might have at one point to live in the southeast part of town.
Right.
So I did come up here. My career, I was I started out in information technology and very quickly became a project manager and a designer of computer systems. And more or less since my very early 20s, I managed projects and led teams of people to implement different IT solutions for all types of oil and gas companies. My last role before I semi-retired was with Houston Independent School District. I was their director of IT project management. Really gratifying 5 years that I spent with them. And then I decided it was time to retire. Now I still do some consulting with a school district in California, but it's just a part-time basis, and I really have began to focus on my art. And my art, I was thinking about it, and I've actually always been a crafter. I've always done something. Like I did ceramics in elementary school. I still have my pig and my duck and different things that I made at that time. Really love ceramics, but it just was something I did as a child. I don't know if I'd love it now or not, but really about 20 years ago, my father passed away, unfortunately, and I, like a lot of people, felt a lot of grief about it. And actually, shortly thereafter, I was laid off. That was during a kind of a bad time in the oil industry and different, so it was a little bit hard to find roles. And I had about 8 months without a role, without a job. And so I picked up art. And that's when I began to do a lot of experimental type art, working with different medias, acrylic and glass beads, and then some of the polymer mixes and different things. And I discovered a joy and had some fun with just creating funky things, I wasn't worried about anybody wanting it or whatever. I was just doing it for my own healing and my own growth and just to try things. I've always loved science, and it brought out a part of that in me to do that experimentation with those medias, and that's what started it, really. I think
that's great.
I've just continued to develop my art skills in more and more areas ever since.
Well, there's no doubt that art is very healing.
Yes.
And I'm sure that at that time of your life, it was something that filled a void for you and gave you joy, and probably set an example for the rest of your family, too. Didn't you tell me that some of the other folks in your family did art?
Yes, my mother was an artist. I had an uncle that was an artist. My sister is an artist, and now my 2 nieces have actually begun to paint some. So I have high hopes that they'll go and do their own experimentation and have their own fun with art and let it bring them the kind of joy that I found it bring into my life.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah, I never felt like I was up to the par, so to speak, of my sister, my mother. They're really good. Mom was a great landscape artist, and she did animals, like beautiful eagles and hawks and things like that. And my sister does beautiful landscapes that have lots of light in them and different things. And that's just not me. I don't do that type of art.
And that's fine, because you are who you are.
Yeah.
And everybody's different, and art takes so many different forms.
It does.
And I think it should be whatever brings you the most joy. And if that's what it does, then fine. And there is no point in competing. Right. I mean, you might as well do your own thing.
I finally figured that out.
Yeah.
It took me a little while and some, kind of looking at myself and saying, I don't like this too much. But when I did do that initial experimenting years ago, I did things like put watercolor in a bathtub so that I could, watercolor paper in the bathtub, so I could decal the edges, make the paper soft enough that I could decal the edges and everything. And I love that. It's so silly. But
it isn't silly at all. I think because you were making something you were creating.
Yeah. Yeah, taking something and turning it into something different and everything.
Exactly.
So that's what I like to do in my career. We would take a concept and then we would turn it into something. Well, if I can do that with my art and take something that's one media and then turn it into something else that's unexpected, that's enjoyable to me.
It's enjoyable, and it's cutting edge. And a lot of times you might be creating something that someone hasn't ever done before.
That would be great. I would enjoy that so
that's
much.
Exactly right. And I'm just amazed with all your experience and everything with IT, because that's probably about the furthest thing from anything anyone would ever want me to do. But I think for you to be able to, you have both sides of your brain that are in operation there. Mm-hmm. You got your left side of the brain, the organized part, and then you got the right side, your creative part, and that's what we're all trying to do, is balance ourselves so that we can do both, which is a big gift, I would think. A lot of artists are just not geared toward the other direction. So, yeah.
I do feel blessed by what I was able to learn in my career and how I can apply, using software to run my Shopify site and do different things. That's not difficult, particularly for me, because of my experiences.
That is my big weakness. I think maybe you might need to, maybe you don't want to talk about that anymore, but I think a lot of artists could probably really benefit from your help in that area, that's for sure.
Well, I have a small group of people that I formed a relationship, particularly during COVID. Mm-hmm. We were in the same mentoring group. And so now we self-mentor each other, but one is in Colorado and one is in California. We meet every Friday and share and discuss ideas about, how to do different things. And I try to help them with my technology experience.
Are you all artists?
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're both really fine artists.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's excellent. And there are so many ways now that you can connect with people so far away.
Yeah, we Zoom every week.
Share all that. That is absolutely great. So as far as any kind of formal art study, that's not something that you've done. You've learned on your own.
I've learned on my own, and then I've taken a variety of courses from various people and everything over, online Skillshare, different things like that.
Sure.
But really, I can, other than my Zentangle art, I have done most of that on my own through just practice and trying things, the experimentation, everything. For the Zentangle, which is a very structured art form using a process and everything, beautiful art form. I had to, because I wanted to be a certified teacher in that, I went through a week-long course to become
Wow.
certified, and then be able to share that and share the process as
That's
a
good.
CZT, they call it, a Certified Zentangle Teacher.
Just in case these folks might not know what Zentangle is, can you just explain it to them just a bit?
I will. It probably in some ways would be very familiar to you in the sense of some people probably think of it as a doodle or
Right.
something. It's very, in many cases, very linear art where you use a fine piece of cotton paper in most cases, as well as a fine tip pen, and you draw lines and circles and different shapes. There are probably 2,000 registered tangles
Wow.
that people have created, and then they have had those formally published under their names and stuff. I've got about 30 that I've created so far. I haven't registered them, but that's all in progress.
Wow.
And I probably will have another 30 within the next couple of months.
That's impressive.
I like creating. Creating from
tell
scratch is
that.
big for me.
I can tell that. And then you're so good at sharing, which is so nice
Oh,
too.
thank you.
Because I know you've taught the class there, and Zentangle is also very calming.
Yes.
And I think that's why they call it Zen.
Yeah, it's really meant to be a form of art that you're not trying to make something representational. So you're not trying to make a flower. You're not trying to make a house or landscape or something. You're trying to put lines and circles and arcs and different things together so that as you're doing it, you're relaxing, you're appreciating your environment, your tools, all the things around you. It does put you in a state of flow because you do a number of repetitive things. A lot of times you'll do one tangle, and you may on one sheet of paper do one tangle 100 times.
Wow.
If you want to. And if you can imagine repeating those lines and those arcs and everything over and over, it really does become a very relaxing, Zen orienting thing that they've been able to determine that people doing tangling using the process, the 8-step process, they are able to avoid taking pain medicine because of it.
Whoa.
They have cancer patients that have been able to stop taking their pain medicine.
Wow.
They've got some studies going on right now with a Massachusetts hospital so that they can formally document the benefit of practicing Zentangle.
That's awesome.
It's an amazing, life-changing art form
That
is
fabulous.
fun, and I enjoy so much teaching that at the art
sure.
gallery. Every Thursday we have a class, and it's just such a joy to be able to share that and that capability for others to take some control over their life, to be able to relax
Exactly.
themselves and everything.
Exactly. There was another study that you told me about, and another type of art, which you're also doing, I think. And that has actually been somewhat documented in another part of the world, I understand, to help heal the brain.
That's the neurographica art.
Uh-huh.
There's a gentleman, a doctor in Russia, who came up with a method. He recognized that not all types of standard, like counseling and different things, therapy, were actually being impactful for everybody.
Right.
And as a result of him studying it and everything, he was on an airplane of all things, and he had this, brilliant idea or aha moment from God, whatever you want to call it, where he realized that through doing a certain form of art, neurographica art, you could actually begin to heal your brain and the troubles in your brain, the challenges you're facing in your life, the trauma in some sense that you face, that it would actually allow your hands to help those neurons in your brain realign themselves and actually help you get through trauma in some sort.
That is fantastic. I look forward to learning more about that. I'm always interested.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
called
really
what
does
again?
work.
What's the name
Neurographica art.
Neurographica.
And then I do the art.
The art form of it. That's great. That's great. Well, I think we should take a look at some of your artwork now. How about that?
I love that.
All right, let's take a look and see what you have here. Oh my gosh, I love it. How adorable.
This is one of my, what I call a moo, my moo family of birds. This came about because I was new to Houston Independent School District. We had a white elephant gift party for a small group of us.
Yes.
And I really, because I was new, I wanted something kind of special to bring to it that maybe people would think a lot about. I was already doing a lot of art and everything. So I just kind of came up with this idea to create a moo. And the first one I created was called Blue Moo. And he was very much like the one you're looking at now, only he was blue primarily, and his feathers and everything.
All his little feathers were blue too.
And he had a turquoise beak. And so I took the painting, not knowing really what people would think, and it was small. And so I could not believe the interest and how much everybody laughed over that painting, the enjoyment it seemed to bring them. And it was traded every time it could be traded till no more could it be traded. And the gentleman who ended up with it, which really in itself surprised me, he said he was so thrilled with it. He took it home and hung it on his wall by his dining room table so he'd see it all the time. And it just touched me.
It must have.
And I thought, well, maybe there's something to this. So I've been painting them ever since.
I bet.
I've given them as a lot of gifts. So that's Pinky Moo there.
Another
the other one was multicolor. But Pinky
it.
Moo is one of my favorites. I actually have him hanging over my entry in a 30 by 30 print of him.
Wow.
And he makes me happy every time I look at him. There's just something for me that great joy comes from looking at those moos.
I think it does. And when you told me, you said the emus, and then you said moose, and then you said something that was in your license plate or something that had you, and I thought, you know what? You're talking about moose. I'm thinking about muse. Maybe those are your muses too.
Maybe. They've certainly changed my life in so many ways.
That's so fabulous. Well, when I saw them, I just fell in love with them. I thought they were adorable.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, let's look at the next piece. This is a little different now. Wow.
This is one of my large abstract pieces. It's an acrylic mixed media with quite a bit of like graphite and different things of...
Looks like a lot of layers.
Very much layered. I started out with a very, very dark background and then kept working my way up to the lightest so that I would have some of those intense saturated parts behind it, but also
show through.
Yeah.
Well, this is absolutely gorgeous. And did you tell me it was someone had purchased it?
Just recently, it sold to a nice lady in New York, and so I shipped it off to New York, and that's where it resides at this point.
Does it feel like you're losing your babies when you sell your work?
I have to tell you, when I sell my work or give it away as a gift, because I've given like lots of the moos to children and everything, it just makes me happy. I don't even miss it because I love that thought that somebody else is appreciating it. And,
isn't that great?
And quite honestly, I pray over most of my work. I pray my way through it and everything. And part of my prayer is that the person who needs it or wants it is going to find it. And
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it has.
Well, I hope so.
Yes,
I
think so. I think so. And we have another piece to look at.
So this is an example of one of the projects that we did in my class there at Cal.
Okay.
We took an antique book page from an Aesop's Fables book from 1919. And we took the pages out and then we painted with gesso and acrylic over most of it, but we left keywords and then also left the beautiful art that was already in the book exposed, which is what the mouse and the frog are and the talons from the bird. Right. And then you can see the words too. And then we tangled, design tangles to go around the words and to decorate the rest of the page.
That's fun. That is really fun. I love that.
We had a good time doing that project.
I know you did.
And I love antique books, so there's a part of me that says, don't tear it up. Another part that says, it'll be here forever now.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We're immortalizing these pages. So that's great.
And to be honest, when I found the book in an antique store, it was already coming apart. So I didn't probably honestly, I didn't destroy something that was in good shape.
You didn't do any disservice. I think it's great. So we have one more piece, right?
Yeah, I think so. So this is an example of the neurographica art that I was talking about.
Right.
That, in some ways you're drawing the neuron lines and the neuro lines. And then the circles are representative of areas that you have captured or, kind of blocked potentially or something that you're going to work your way to smooth those out. A big part of the neurographica art is the fact that every corner should be rounded. There's no hard, straight lines. There shouldn't be when it's finished. Now, I'll guarantee you, as big as this painting is 36 by 48.
Whoa.
So, and it's done with acrylic ink and acrylic pen and acrylic black paint.
Yes.
That you will probably no doubt find a hard line because as much as I try, it seems like there's always one left. But the whole process of rounding the edges is part of the healing process. That you're actually, in some way, the thought is that you may have those hard edges in your brain.
Right.
And by smoothing them and being focused on the fact of there's something that's challenging you, bothering you.
Right.
It could be something as simple as there's a new technique I want to learn in art, and I'm really stumped by it.
Yes, right.
So I could be thinking about that, doing one of these pieces, rounding those lines, and out of that, I will figure out what I need to do.
Whoa.
And you can do these big, you can do them on paper with colored pencil, whatever. The colors definitely relate to, for me, the colors I chose in this one were about life and, peace and just going forward. And so you can choose dark colors if that's what's feeling, you're feeling and everything. It just is all representative of where you are and whatever you're working on at that point.
Sure. Well, I think it's totally fascinating. I love anything having to do with brain healing, so I'm definitely going to look into that one very much so. Okay, so we are so happy to see these examples of your work. So if somebody wanted to take a look at your work and maybe purchase some of it, how would they be able to do that?
Well, they can. You can look at my website, which is www.cindyrayfancher.com. Cindy Rae Fancher art.com.
Art.com.
I always read the art.
We want to leave the art. We want to leave the art in. Yes.
That is Cindy Rae Fancher art.com. You can do that. I also have a YouTube channel, which is Finding Your Creative Bones.
This is so, I'm blown away by that. That having a YouTube channel, wow.
Well, there's not a whole lot out there, but you can see some samples of how to do the antique book page. There is a class out there that teaches you how to do that. And you can learn various tangling techniques and how to tangle on a pumpkin, different things.
So now they just go to YouTube and put your name in?
They can put my name in or do Finding Your Creative Bones. Finding Your Creative Bones is kind of a special thing to me. I'm writing a book right now.
Tell me about that.
And it's a book, it's a 365-day devotional based on or inspired by my own reading of the Bible this year in a year. I really thought I would never be able to do that. I just didn't give myself credit for being able to do it, but this year I decided I felt the Lord calling me and asking me to do that as part of Finding Your Creative Bones. I went ahead and did it, started it, and I started in April and actually realized how much I loved it and how much I could do something with it, in the sense that almost immediately I felt compelled to begin writing a devotional for each day based off of something in the scripture. And so I wrote the devotional, and I've got a prayer for every day. And then I've also got chosen a tangle for that day that will be on the page for meditation purposes, just to allow you to kind of put the connection. Every tangle is chosen or created by me from scratch to go with that devotion to help you really see it. Now, some people may say it's just far too abstract for me. I can't get it. I don't see the connection. But no matter what, I'm doing 365 pieces of art for the book. And, I don't know exactly when it'll be finished, but I've made a lot of progress on it, and it's going to happen.
Well, you're dedicated to that, and you're going to make it happen. I know you will.
I am, because I'm not the one asking it to be done. Quite frankly,
there you go.
I'm pretty sure that there's somebody up there who
and you've
is
gotten that message,
me.
and that's exactly what you're going to be doing. Well, I am so excited to learn about all of the things that you do and all of your beautiful art that you have, and such a variety. And I just think that's awesome. And I'm really happy that you were here talking to us today, Cindy Rae. And so everyone needs to remember that if you want to see Cindy Rae's work, as well as the art of other Cal Art members, then please visit us at the Best Little Art Gallery in historic downtown Conroe. So come on down, y'all. We're open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 until 4. Join us at the gallery where we live by our creed: create, appreciate, and learn. Thank you. Have a great one.